All right, gang, welcome back to the Win Rate 0% podcast. I am Cobb and I am on the Scottish TCG channel. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a BT10 roundup. We're going to be talking about the meta game, both pre and post the ban list. It's been a very turbulent format for us all. We're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into Bandai's discussion making on the ban lists that we've had so far. And there's been some interesting results from the EX3 early days tournament. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the format so far. And then we're going to be talking about the question of today, which is what is your most slept on deck of the EX3 format? What do you think is going to be great someday that nobody is really talking about right now? So I'm Cobb. I'm also joined here by Adam.
Hello.
Good to be here, Adam. Good to be here.
Indeed.
And Jason. What are we saying?
Hello, everyone. I'm back, baby.
Let's go. We are ready to go. So yeah, but all quite hyped here, guys. A bit of EX3's been on the go. How have you been enjoying it?
Loving it, mate. Playing
Yeah, it's been really fun.
playing Bloom
It has been.
Lordmon. Bloom Lordmon's doing Bloom Lordmon with Hydramon. It's doing good things. I'm
Yeah.
winning. I won our locals with it. I'm really enjoying the deck. It's so much fun.
Yeah. It's been real. It's been a really fun format so far, and it's been quite diverse, I would say. I know we're in the early days, but it looks like it's going to be a very, very wide format with a lot of options to play. Jason, how have you been enjoying it so far, mate?
Yeah, it's been fun putting Hexablow back on the board again.
Oh yes.
I like to abuse my stacks.
Yeah.
A nice wee Chimeramon with a bunch of the new
Holy
new
crap!
support
Aye.
into a Hexablow is
That's
kinda tasty.
nuts, man. Like I guess if you don't know, a lot of the new Hexablow support is focused on preventing your opponent's digivolutions by increasing the cost if they've got zero sources. So if you
Yep.
get a freaking stack with like 3+ of those inherited, it's like going to be past turn territory if they have all ones.
Exactly. That is the plan, good sir.
That is nuts, man. A friend of mine as well, who's actually been out of the game for quite a long time. He's not played since bloody BT6 format where he
Yeah.
was playing Rookie Rush. And he played Hexablow as well. I told him there was new support coming out, and even
Aye.
though it's like not predicted to be very high tier, he's like, "Oh, I might start coming to locals again playing Hexablow." So
Mate, it's tier 1, what you mean?
honestly, mate, I believe it, and I'd love to see you do well with it, man. I'm always a fan of rogue decks trying to make it big.
Oh, definitely, man. It's the way to go.
I've been on the old D Brigade hype train once again. I've not played a whole lot at EX3, but it's honestly, I said in the last episode, I wasn't sure how much power the new D Brigade stuff was going to hold. But see when you get the combos off, see when you develop the turn 2-3 lethal, it's absolutely nuts, man. There's so much value for it. But yeah, it's been definitely good. I'm really excited to see what the rest of the format brings. No doubt when January comes and we're waiting on BT11 in February, we're all going to be bored out our face with it.
Oh,
But,
1,000%.
Yeah, we
Yeah, it
get
just
a
happens
solid
every time.
month of dopamine, and then that's it. We're done with the format.
Absolutely. But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens anyway. Like I say, there's a lot of new decks or old favourites cropping up as well. So there's definitely going to be a lot going on in this format. That is for sure. Going to be talking a wee bit more about EX3 a little bit down the line here today. But just now we're going to go into a bit of discussion on the format we have just concluded there, BT10. It's been a really interesting one. Obviously, everybody knew cross fart, cross shart, whatever you want to call it, was going to be the tier 1. Some people even call it tier 0 deck. But we got a very surprise, pretty early doors ban list that has completely shafted the deck. It's still in a competitive spot, but it is nowhere near the tier 1 menace that everybody's had to play for.
I would disagree. I still think it's tier 1. I think it was in a stage before ban list. It was in a stage. I called it 0.5. To be honest,
that's a good terminology.
Because it wasn't quite that oppressive to make it tier 0. But at the time before the ban list, it was 100% 0.5. Now, I still think it's a tier 1 contender I was messing about with the deck as well with the ban lists and all that stuff with it. And I gave the list to one of the guys last week who went to locals because I couldn't make it. And he ended up winning 2-0 every single game.
Oof, nice, man.
So the deck, and he was telling me obviously with X4 being at 1, he still personally thought he never actually used it. I think he used it once out of all the games. It's X5 that's been winning him the games.
Oh yeah.
Because it's still that card's just nuts once you get into it.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, people be like, no, I can't draw 3 cards for free for 1 memory and swing for 1 or 2 checks and then do it all again and draw another 3 cards. But I mean, what other deck can slam down a level 5 with a bunch of ridiculous inheritables, rush, reboot, blocker, and swing for 2 checks in a turn? It's just that's a ridiculous play. It still does unfair stuff. It's just not an absolute joke like it was before.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's more fair now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how it's turned out, honestly.
See, I'm on the opposite side of the fence with this, in that I fully acknowledge it as a meta deck, and I think it's a good deck, but I also think it's crap at the same time. There's no other way to put it. I think it's so easily counterable that if you have like a shred of meta knowledge, you know how to play around a rush deck, then it just dies every single time. I have never once lost a game to Crossheart. Now, granted, I've been playing Gaiomon a lot, which is designed to counter Crossheart, but even in the other decks that I've been playing and messing around with, like, I've never had an issue with Crossheart destroying me. Like I know it won. I know it won the was it the DC one, or it won an online event recently. I'm pretty sure it won the event I was judging at, actually. But I think it's done really well, especially with the ban list coming out. And it seems to continue to be adapting. Obviously, it's getting more support in BT12, and it looks to be creeping back into the sort of the predicted meta again.
Yeah, does it not still get like support in BT11 as well?
Yeah, so it's getting cross 7, and it's getting cross 7 perfect, or whatever it's called. Superior mode.
He crosses with everything ever.
Plus you've got the white tamer as well for it, which is kind of
so I mean, this is another reason why the ban has been kind of healthy, because the deck actually gets a lot of good and powerful but more balanced pieces than Cross 4. But when you look at some of the Japanese lists that were coming out for it, they weren't even running this stuff, because they're like, why would we? We just run 4 Cross 4, and then they run some of the support pieces. But now it actually opens a lot more avenues for the deck building. And then I don't know if you guys know, but in Japan, people were legit quitting the game over this. And Bandai were terrified that in BT10, it was going to ruin the game in the English format, because we do not typically like the Cross Wars franchise very much. It pretty much put Digimon on like a 5+ year death sentence in the West.
Yeah, it really did.
They were really scared it was going to sell terribly, and it's because of the ban list. It's meant that a lot of other decks can see competitive viability.
Yeah.
And like Jason's saying, man, the deck's still good. Anam doesn't think it's that good, but it's not had many.
I think it's a competitively strong deck, but I've never had an issue playing against it, so I don't think. Yeah. Like, obviously, it's one event, so I'm not trying to just be a contrarian for no reason here.
I thought you just mean post-ban, mate. I thought you were talking about, like, post-ban, the deck is ass.
No, I meant pre-ban, but when it had 4 cross 4s and 4 sunrises, I'd never had an issue with it, to the point where I was like, maybe I was playing against people that weren't piloting it fully or whatever like that, but I'm not here to sit and slag off my opponents, but I never have had a problem, to the point where I was like, how has this been top meta in Japan for forever, basically?
I think the best way to describe the deck is it's there, it's in the meta. Respect it. Kind of thing. Respect that it's there, but don't go out your way to just play a test against that, thinking that's all you're going to play. Because as you've been seeing right now, Melga X, in my opinion, is the best deck of this format.
Without doubt, especially post ban list. I mean, if we look at some of the statistics here, we're seeing that shout out to GMXPO on Reddit. Give this person a follow for the fantastic
What
Digimon
a king.
TCG statistics. But they've done a meta breakdown of the pre and post ban lists with tiers solely based on their tournament tops by percentage. So in the pre ban list world, we have Cross Hearts at tier 1 with a 15% win rate. So undoubtedly one of the best decks of the format.
Yep.
The other one we've got is Alphamon, which had a ridiculous amount of tournament play in the early BT10 set. It was actually performing better over here than it did in the Japanese meta, where it was maybe third, fourth, fifth best deck. Over here, it's actually had the most tops of the format pre-ban list.
Which makes sense. It is a very powerful deck. It has blocker inherited with its level 4s, so it stops Crossheart, it stops Metal Guru, it stops pretty much everything because of its prevention-based deletion effects. Obviously, Doru Greymon getting hit to 1 killed a bunch of its security sort of power, which is why it sort of faded away. But before that happened, it's definitely been competitive. I think in the Scottish scene, we've not really seen it being piloted by for a long time by one person. Everyone sort of went, yeah, the deck's fun, but God, is it boring, because you just either win or you lose. There's no strategy. You build up your guy, and then it either kills them or you die to like an ultimate flare or something like that.
That's the thing, man. Like a lot of people, we've just left the OTK format, so they say we're probably still in an OTK format now. But we've supposedly left this format, and a lot of people I know have been dropping their OTK decks solely on the fact that when you win, it feels like you're winning for free. When you lose, it feels like you lose and there's nothing you can do about it because you're just missing your pieces. You don't find your pieces in time. You walk into a security bomb that just completely shuts your deck down. I mean, people know me for playing Pulsemon at the start of the meta and doing okay with that, but I just found it so boring when you draw through half your deck and you've not found one of your level 6s yet. It's like, it's such a feels bad. It's not even like a skill.
It's a very combo-y deck that just requires every to see every single piece.
Yeah.
Even into BT9, I respect it being in the meta, but I was never scared to play against it for the simple fact 9 times out of 10 I've played against it, they've bricked.
Yeah.
Or they've not seen that one piece, and because they've not seen that one piece.
Yeah. It's like I played a game against you, Jason, in a store championships where you were playing Grandis, and it was pretty much my finals for that store championship because of the other matchups.
Yeah.
But literally, I don't think you could do a single thing because you spent the whole game. I was playing D Brigade, so I was putting the pressure on. And then the second you got your combo off, you'd walk into a Chikurimon, an Ultimate Flare, an Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And there is literally nothing you can do. And people say, just take in the delicate plan package. But I feel like it really drops your win rates against a lot of other matchups. And also, if you take it into the matchups where it is a win condition, you still have to see one of your 2 heroes and one of your 2 delicate plans if that's the ratio you want. You might not even see it.
So, like, for BT9, I 100% disagreed with people playing, setting up the red package for the simple fact it was an OTK format. 9 times out of 10, you taking that extra turn to set up that, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
But for coming into the BT10, I've not tried it. I have seen a lot of people playing it I know one of the Melga decks that won was playing the 1-1 split. Yeah. I don't like just playing one-offs in a deck. For the simple fact, it's not. If I'm playing it, I want to see it consistently. Melga does draw through its deck very, very quickly, so I can agree to a stand at a point of being one. Again, obviously, I can't really say anything. I mean, the deck won, but like, it's. I just don't. I don't agree too much with the red package. I do believe it's probably the correct way to play it. I just personally I'm not a big fan of it.
I like the red package in Grandis for me, but I wasn't playing it with heroes. I was still playing Mimis and Davises, and I was playing 2 of the red ties from the original starter deck. just because it's a 2-cost tamer. Like, I saw a lot of success with it, but I got very bored of OTK quickly because, again, I like my games to have a bit more interaction than I win or I lose in one turn, basically.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said as well, with security bombs, obviously, when we talk about meta, it's a consistently evolving sort of thing that I think we can do an episode purely on meta talk alone at some point. But just briefly, it's not one specific thing. It is a consistently evolving process, collectively, almost subconsciously agreed upon by the best players in the scene. So you've got your high tier players, that top at events, regionals, world championships, and they set early game metas and things like that. But then you've also got like your local metas, your community metas. So we've got a meta in the Scottish community as well. And I think what happened with us is that almost pretty much everyone went, oh, security bombs are a thing, let's stop playing OTK decks, because everyone went, okay, let's put bombs in to stop. And when we talk about bombs, we mean deletion effects like Gaia Forces and things like that.
Absolutely,
Ultimate
yeah.
flares.
I've heard people calling like Shikurimon, the black security Digimon that de-digivolves you by 1 when you proc it, a bomb. I'm like, mate, this is not a bomb. This is like a stick of
It's
dynamite.
an annoying
like
little rat of a mine Digimon, but it's not a bomb. But yeah, like, it's this consistently evolving process, and everyone went, right, let's put more bombs to counter the OTK, and all the OTK went, okay, cool, let's stop doing that. So the minute that bombs stop becoming prevalent again, OTKs are going to creep up again, and then they're going to get shoved right back down again, and it's this constant sort of ebb and flow. Because at the moment, rush decks are popular, as well as like swarming the board with things, but Crimson Blaze is a thing, Ultimate Flare is a thing. As soon as those start becoming properly prevalent, because let's face it, unless you're playing like a Commandramon list or something, you don't have a lot of space in your deck for too many bombs. Normally 2 to 3 at most, if you've got space. So by putting like a Crimson Blaze in, you're taking out your big bomb, your big Gaia Force, although nobody plays that, but like your other sort of things.
There was actually a Gallimon list that came 8th in one of the American big tournaments at the weekend, and it was running 2 of them. Also, big upset at the weekend in the EX3 results. Wargrey X topped an event for the first time since the deck's release, and it was running Gaia Forces as well.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to see the card coming back. And I mean, talking about like the difference in the metas we've had, the formats have completely shifted. Like at the start of the format, because Cross Hearts was so fast and so powerful, some of these other decks had a chance to shine simply because they had a good Cross Hearts matchup. Like, I don't think OTK decks do all that well into Cross Hearts, with the exception of Melga, because it can bounce the pieces back to hand, and Alphamon, because it can play through the Cross Heart turns really well, and it can run like combos to disrupt and things like that. I don't really know personally how well Grandis, which was the other big bad OTK deck, does in the Cross Hearts matchup, but like looking at the tier 2 standings before the ban, this is decks with a 6 to 15% win rate. In a top down order, we've got Metal Garurumon X was the third best deck of the format, the first best tier 2 deck. Then we've got Grandees, Nuts, Magnamon X, Gaiomon, and Bielstarmon actually sitting at the bottom of tier 2 with something akin to a 6% win rate or a 6% topping rate, which is surprising, to be honest, because I've been firmly in the camp that Bielstar is fat copium.
I don't think Bielstar is very good anymore.
I still like Bielstar. That's it's sort of the only control deck that I've enjoyed playing. But God, it's not had any support in a while, and it's not getting any more support. They are. If you take a look at how Bandai are printing cards, they are deliberately avoiding printing 7-cost options. Because every time they do, it fuels Bielstar, and they can only give that deck so much power. But I like the deck, but I don't think it does. It basically, what it is that it's security control light, and as much as I hate security control and will forever shit on it, it is just a much better control deck than than Beelstar ever could
Oh.
be.
Security Control is always going to be the best control deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Easily. Because of the simple fact it just doesn't care about colours, costs, whatever. They just fucking chuck everything in and go,
Yeah.
there's my deck. You're not getting past that, and I just need to chip you away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Meanwhile,
it can be really
Beelstar has
annoying,
to be
man.
like, oh, got to fuel the trash, got to play things, got to get things back,
Yeah.
and you're like, what's going on, man? Security Control, and I'm not gonna go on a big rant about this, but I hate Security Control because I think it abuses, the good spirit of the game, and I don't think people play. I don't think it plays into how the game is intended to be played. But it is a deck.
No.
It is obviously a deck, and I'm not gonna like sit here and like if you've got the fucking cojones to play Security Control for 9 rounds in a tournament, fair play to you, because I played it once and hated it. So like, best wishes to
Just
you.
different types of
Merry
players, man.
Christmas.
Like, it's literally like certain people in the game. And again, I'm not trying to shit on people. This is just simple facts here. I am one of these people, but I'm not one of these people in Digimon where I actually gain a great amount of joy from denying joy to my opponent by preventing them from doing anything. I mean, Jason,
That's
he's
good
a filthy blue hybrid player, and
alone.
he's now a filthy blue Hexa blue player as
But
well.
I
So
like
he loves to stop
Sun.
people doing things.
I look my opponent dead in the eye, and I see them tear, and it makes it just makes me hard, you know.
Shut
It's-
up, man! Jesus Christ! Sitting with
Yeah,
your
great.
playmat peeking up from the bloody table.
I can't wait for the people that listen to this in fucking Australia to be going, what the fuck is he talking about?
Nah, man, I'll stick up for Setcon for a wee second,
Aye,
because
you
I mean,
would.
I've played the deck. I mean, yeah, of course I would. I'm a dick, but a lot of players just, when it comes to Setcon, it is you have to think very hard on when to use certain like options.
You
and stuff.
absolutely do not. It is just
Oh no,
play
you
card,
100% do.
pass
You do.
turn.
You
do have to
100%
think,
do.
right? Secon is a deck where you've got multiple options that you can do every turn, and
Yep.
there's so many differentiating lines, right? Metal Garurumon is a deck where you see your pieces, you go. You don't see your pieces, you don't go. Secon, you've got multiple options a turn.
Yep.
You can decide whether you'd rather let them into the security this turn because you don't think you're going to die, or you can like play safer or more aggressive by deleting things, giving more memory. There's multiple paths. It's the same with D Brigade. Like people would just be like, "Oh, D Brigade just reveals, I'll just attack opponent." But you have to decide when to use certain
No,
cards.
I think D Brigade
have
takes.
to think.
I think D Brigade takes skill. I don't think Security Control takes skill. It's literally, do they have a guy out? Kill it. Do they not have a guy out? Recover or play a tamer.
No.
That's
You
literally
do
it.
make a good point.
You
do
have
make a good
to.
point.
You genuinely do have to think a few turns ahead, because you could use this. Say you used an option, right, that you really don't need to use, but you feel like it's one of the only or two options you have, right, and you go for that line, and then next turn they just build up that board again, and you have no way to get rid of it, right? There's a lot of wee kind of small things that you need to think about, etc. Like from when I was playing it, I was having to think like, no, if I'm going to use this option, what could they possibly do on their turn?
Yeah.
Can I then follow up and keep the kind of control of the game from after their turn?
Of course
There's
you
a
can,
lot of
because you
those.
literally go, I'm going to play Chaos Degradation 4 turns in a row, followed by 4
Yeah,
Flame
this
Hell
is,
Scythes.
I mean, you're not always
very-
gonna have that.
Oh, Flame
Exactly.
Hell Scythe, and
Times.
that kills a guy and brings out a Magna Angemon, and then I get to heal.
Yeah.
It's literally just
That's
kill whatever's on the
very
board or
Of
heal.
course it does. Of course it does some ridiculous, unfair things, right? And nothing is worse than when you feel like you've got lethal, and then the first check is chaos degrade, and you've lost the game. But there is definitely, and I'll say this as well. Every single deck has an element of skill expression, and they're all completely different in
Yes.
how you
Yep.
express that skill. So a deck that, if you're not a player of it, or you've played it a couple of times, you're for the outside looking in, Set Control, D Brigade, Imperial Drum 1 or something like that, you might just be looking at it like, oh, this is just unga bunga play thing. But when you actually play it, there's a lot more decision making that goes through the process, and that's what separates your gatekeepers and your local card game shops to the people that actually end
Yeah,
up taking
and like I'm being a bit facetious, but it does definitely take skill to play. But oh my god, like see when I'm at big events and I'm judging and I'm walking about, see every time I see a security control player, they look miserable. Like they're just
Oh
having
no,
the
it's a
worst.
miserable.
They're having the worst time of their life, and like even when they're winning, they're miserable. But when they play against another, like when it's a security control mirror match, they just, I imagine spending an hour out of your day just feeling like fucking garbage, and then it
you know what I
happens
love?
multiple times. They get paired up multiple times. That's horrible. Like, why would you
Yeah.
want to feel like that?
It is not a fun deck to have in the meta, let's put it that way. And I mean, until Bandai does something about how ridiculous a mechanic security is, if they ever do, Setcon's always going to have some element in the meta game. I don't think it didn't really do too much this set. If we look at the tier 3 results pre-ban list, we've got Blue Flare being the top tier 3 deck, Dark Nightmon, and then Setcon at the bottom, and that's a 2% to a 5%
Yeah.
topping rate.
Which I think
So
is crazy because Blue Flare is a really good deck.
I think,
Blue Flare's very, very strong.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
Melga X is 100 times better.
Yeah.
The only reason Blue Flare's actually able to do anything is because a lot of them are now just taking in the Magnum on X and then
Yeah.
just going Jesmon GX on top, and then that's kind of the way that they're going with the deck now.
Yeah. Blue Flare has been gatekept this format a bit. The reason being that it has a really nice matchup in the Cross Hearts. It can do a lot of good things there. But see a lot of the tier 2 gatekeepers, as I'm calling them, the things that gatekeep it from being higher up the tier 2, tier 1 ranking, things like
Yeah.
your Metal Garurumon X, your Grandis, your Magnamon X decks, and your Gaiomons absolutely shaft it.
Yeah, but if
Because
you,
they can just sit and raise and then come and kill them in one turn. They can't get their stun effects off, and they can't get their double swing action off with the Metal Grey.
The issue I found playing now, obviously, I love blue. I only ever played blue. When it came to Blue Flare, was if my opponent played a tamer, any kind of like tamer hate in the deck, see once they killed my kind of thingy tamer, I can't remember
Kiriha?
his name. Yeah, once they killed that, I then had to then spend another turn or two trying to find it.
Yeah.
Which in this kind of format isn't ideal. Crossheart got away with it because they played so many tamers.
Yeah.
Whereas Blue Flare, you tend to only have one or two, one being Soda Joe and the other one being Kiriha. And in the moment you pop your Kiriha, you're sort of just, you're now
Yeah.
behind your opponent by quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Like when
Because
I,
they've established the board and then you've got to reset, which is a very annoying part about the deck.
yeah, when I was playing
Uh,
Gaiomon, I would target the Kirihas as soon as I could, and it just won me the game most of the time.
Yeah.
Apart from when I was playing in one of our local events, and I was like, "What is this deck?" I had never played against Blue Flare, and I didn't know what the cards did, and it demolished me.
Yeah.
It's a total skill check, Blue Flare, because if you don't know what the cards do and you just play like a normal game of Digimon, you could very well lose.
Yeah.
Blue Flare is 100%. If your opponent doesn't know how to play against it, will 100% win.
But I mean, if we're looking at the post ban list, it's in the tier 2 rating. It's strong. It's a strong third.
It jumped. It did jump very high, but then it's at the same time there's a lot of the decks dropped because of the ban list.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, man.
You know, so it's like
these a bit more. So if we go into the post ban list here, we have one tier 1 deck that is totally been dominating the meta ever since the ban list has been introduced. And that being Metal Garurumon X has went from the top of tier 2 to the only deck in tier 1. So the ridiculous play rate. It's topped almost every event. It's been slamming the top 16 since then.
Yep.
And overall, if you look at the final standings, this is including the post and pre-ban list. Melga is the third most popular, third highest win rate. In fact, it's got the most.
It's got the most. It should be first
because it has been so played that it has the highest amount of points overall. So it's seen the most play rate. But I think if you look at it, when you take representation and number of players, then it is the third most successful deck of the set, basically. Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these numbers.
Big
and
shout
I
out
feel...
for the pre-ban list though, for Minerva Loop being garbage, and then for it
Yes.
not for then post-ban list for it to just drop off the rankings completely.
It's gone, man.
I hate Minerva Loop. I have hated Lilith Loop. I think watching your opponent play a 10-minute turn, then you get to do nothing, is so fucking toxic. I hate it, and I'm so glad that everyone has went, this deck sucks.
Yeah.
It's a bit sad, man, because loads of people thought the deck was going to be awesome. I mean, Purple has been in a pretty bloody dire state for some time now.
Purple's always been good, especially with Mastamon and stuff like that. The problem with Purple is that it decks itself out and it runs out of steam so quickly. So unless you play Minerva perfectly, then you're not winning. And also Minerva might have done well. And I know we talk about the best of one format that Japan has. It might have done well in a best of one format, but it doesn't do well in best of three. The games take the full 30-40 minutes, and then they go to game 2, and if they've lost, that's it. They're done.
Yeah.
Like, what was it you were going to say, Jason?
I don't know a lot of people. I just know one of the people's from our locals. He borrowed all my Mastamon stuff to try out, like, putting Minerva into Mastamon. And it was really consistent to a stage of I was actually thinking this is the correct way to play Mastamon now. But
it's an interesting card, man. Like, people are playing Minerva Loop, but they don't need to be playing Minerva Loop, because Minerva one on its own is just a powerful card, a powerful ender.
Well, because what you would do with Minerva is that you'd have Minerva and you'd have your Mastamon on the board. Minerva would call something out, Mastamon would proc and kill something. So what you would always do is you would bring something out, and whatever they've just played, you kill it. So it got to a stage, because neither were once per turn, it was just pop, 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 pop. Well, I'm going wide, you're not getting anything.
Yeah, which a pretty nasty floodgate.
For Mastamon is nuts, man.
Yeah. Talking more about Mastamon, to be fair. I mean, I was more hinting at Purple being a pretty weak colour in the recent metas. Like, I mean, it didn't really do anything in BT9, and in the pre-ban list, it's not got a single deck above tier 3. But in the final standings of the post-ban list world, we've actually seen a lot more Mastamon picking up. Like, I just played in the Ultimate Cup in Europe, and I played D Brigade in that, because I was like, oh, hallelujah, we're basically playing BT9 again. D Brigade is Pog. And then my second round was to a Mastamon, which might be probably the worst matchup D Brigade has in the game, and I got absolutely pumped.
Yeah, it's a really popular, aggressive control deck, basically. It does a little bit of everything, and it does it really, really consistently. The only way that I've found of dealing with Mastamon consistently is kill the Gatomon regardless. As soon as they put that Gatomon out, kill it. Doesn't matter how much it costs you, kill the Gatomon, and they have to redo it, or they have to they might force play out a level 5 or something if they give them enough if you give them enough memory. But without that Gatomon proccing the end of turn DNA Digivolution or Jogressing, they're stuck, and that's how I've won my Mastamon matchups. Either that or it just pumps fuck out me.
For Mastamon, I was playing it in BT9, and then I've not played it too much in BT10. I really enjoy the deck, and I've always said Mastamon rewards good players. If you're a good player and you learn how to play Mastamon properly, your chances of winning increase dramatically, for the simple fact it is, as you said, it's so aggressive out of nowhere. It has this control element to it that it really shouldn't have, because
it's got a really high skill ceiling, I think.
It's a very high, like, as you said, like there, Adam, like, see, if I was to hard play my Gatomon, personally, for me, is I would only hard play the Gatomon in a matchup if I was going against someone that was just going to be able to blow it up easily. The only time I would hard play it is to find pieces. If I had it, I would just build up in the raising area for the fact it's just the correct way to play the deck.
To me, like, see hard dropping the Gatomon, that card totally carries the deck on its back. Gatomon is an insane card. Like, see, even hard playing it, I would argue hard playing it, and this is take it with a pinch of salt, 'cause this is a guy who's never played the deck in his life. He's just fought it a lot. But Gatomon hard play is a pretty nutty move because, I mean, getting the double search off is nuts. And
Yeah.
you also, the Digivolution cost is expensive, so it's 3 to go into, which is a bit more than you'd like to be playing. But it's not that bad to do so. But front loading the Digivolution cost is really powerful. It's similar with things like Deltamon.
Yeah.
Like being able to because of the way the memory system works, if you get set to the generic 3 at the start of your turn, you put them back to 2 or 3 by hard playing it, then the odds of them being able to play nice removal on it and not give you like 5+ memory are so low. And if you hard played it, you're also getting more resources. So even if they do remove it, it's still feeding into your win condition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's easy to pick up because it's a starter deck. The deck doesn't do particularly well as a one-off, but even if you buy 2 and put them together, I think you'll find that it will perform consistently average, if that makes sense. You're going to win some, but you're going to lose some as well, but you're never going to go one way or the other too strong. But as soon as you start putting your good cards into it, like your BT10 Magnamons, your Lucemon Chaos modes, your Lady Devimon Draw 3 Discard 2s, as soon as those go in, the deck starts to properly function. And it's like we said, if you hard play that Gatomon, if that Gatomon sticks around, doesn't matter how much memory you've or little memory you've been given, if they've not got a Digivolution cost blocker out, you go into that Lady Devimon for what, a 1 cost, and then you can Jogress. You'll give your opponents a lot of memory, sure, but then you've got a Mastamon out of nowhere, and it's just so good.
Yeah, what I like to do is actually just go for a Flame Hellscythe and just bring it straight back out.
Yeah, see, this is the other thing, man. Flame Hellscythe is one of the most disgusting cards we've printed in the game.
100%.
There's so many good targets for it as well. Like, even some people play the Maycrack version where I cry my eyes out every time because they play a Maycrack, discard 1 card from hand, and then they pop 2 Commandamon at once and a sword. Or they've got the Magna-Angemons. They can, that seems very balanced. Let's destroy a 6k guy and play a level 5 out for 6 memory and recover 1. That seems very balanced to me.
You can bring out the start deck Angie-Woman and then it like just does -2 security attack on something, or is it free?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different options they can play. Like, even that Maycrack is a meta-dependent card. That not every version, and I don't think most versions are running right now, but it's just another option that the deck has to stay meta relevant, and it's something that you have to be aware of when you're playing it.
It's getting more gas literal next set, which
it gets more stuff.
I genuinely think it's going to be a tier 1 deck easily.
It's actually looking to be for sure a top 5 contender.
Which is why I've picked up my Magna-Angemons and Lucemons, getting ready for it, just in case.
Magna-Angemon, it's a good time to buy it. It's actually at a very low point compared to where it's been for some time now.
Yeah.
Are they getting reprinted though? That I'm pretty sure that.
Well, they're getting reprinted as gold-plated versions, pretty much. So it's not going to drive the cost of it down too much, considering you have to pay 110 quid and you get 1 of them.
It's less than that now, by the way, bud. It's like 8.
Really?
Oh, have they dropped it?
Everybody.
The moment that reprint got announced, everyone started, because they would prefer having that, so everyone started selling them, and it got to a stage, I'm pretty sure it still is, it's like 80 quid now to get the playset.
Oh, that's alright.
Very good. It's like we say, it's a real good time to pick them up.
I know,
so buy your Magna-Angemons if you don't have them and you want to play yellow or
but
purple.
But don't pick up a playset because you don't play 4, you just play 2 normally.
2 to 3. Yeah. I'd pick up 3.
Yeah, the safe side.
Yeah, fuck it. Pick up 4, why not? While we are at it.
Just, man, they're that cheap. Just get either that cheap right now. You may as well just get the 4th one.
While you're at it, just play Setcon at that point, like, you know.
I like.
While you're at it, just play Setcon and make everybody cry. Fair one.
I like Flame Hellscythe. I genuinely think it is a balanced 2-color option card. You get to minus something and play something out. I think that's balanced. It's chaos degradation that I hate. There is no effect in the game.
Christ.
There used to be no effect in the game that prevented chaos degradation, and now it's a random black card, and black decks suck.
Yeah, sorry. Blackboard Greymon player spotted talking about the bloody removal card being absolutely cracked because it goes around these undeletion effects.
Yeah, but not for long, because in BT11 I get Metal Greymon X antibody virus mode or whatever it's called, and that prevents my security being fucked with.
Yes, very.
And it also
very
stops
irritating.
de-digivolving, which is the first effect in the game to stop or prevent de-digivolution. Which is
it not just immune to option cards? Period.
Immune to options and immune to de-digivolution effects and stuff like that. So
very nice.
So like another Metal Greymon, for example, couldn't de-digivolve it either. Super cool. Me love. I cannot wait to play that.
Very annoying. The last thing we've not mentioned about the pre-ban list for BT10 is your boy Dark Knightmon. Okay, so this deck was pretty slept on, right? But I was playing it for most of the set, sadly, because D Brigade was unplayable in a meta where Cross Art was all over the place, right? So Dark Knightmon was basically, in my opinion, made to be the silver bullet to Cross Art. It's got Tamer Deletion, it's got blockers that are too big for it to swing over with everything bar cross 5, and it's got blockers that spit out blockers that pop your guys that get more juice for you. It's just an absolutely insane counter. You sit playing 4 Chikurimon and it's literally impossible for Cross Arts to do anything. I was farming Cross Arts players in the Ultimate Cup with it.
I think Dark Knight's super cool. I think it just lacks a little bit of aggressiveness. If they had given at least one of the pieces on play blitz or rush, if they had given it to even one of them, I think the deck would be so much more competitive. But because most of the time you have to hardcast your guy and pass turn and then it dies and it's pointless, it just feels like it's missing a vital piece, I think.
It's got some really nice aggressive pieces, like a fantastic play is, see when you go the Skull Knightmon, you evolve it in Raisin or something like that, and then for 1 you evolve into the Cavalier mode to give it jamming, and then you proc the Inherited that gives you another security attack, so you get a 2-check jammer. It's not even a lot of work to get to, but it's just, if you don't see the Skull Knights or you don't see these Cavaliers early, you're really going to be lacking in aggression, and it is also the only Digicross deck that doesn't have a rusher, like Adam's saying, so it's a wee bit slower. To me, it feels like one of the premier control decks, because you just have this infinite value engine. If you play it properly, you're constantly searching. Almost everything in the deck searches. You're spitting out blockers. It's impossible to rush past, and like I say, there's just a lot of value and tamer hate in the deck as well, so it's really powerful. But Dark Knightmon was sitting in the middle of tier 3. It was very underplayed as well, so it might have done better if more people were picking it up, but it wasn't very hyped. And unfortunately, if we now look at the post-nerf setup, Dark Knightmon is falling off the face of the earth, people. It's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to play it at the moment, unfortunately.
No.
It's like, I enjoyed playing it. I played it with Omnimon Swart in the high end to then shit out 2 more Dark Knightmons for the blocking.
I did want to do that as well. That is the dream.
So fun, by the way.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Like, just like you say, man, being able to spit out 2 of the on play ones that equip guys from the trash to it, it's pretty nutty.
Bring them back, like it's insane.
It is absolutely nuts, but unfortunately, like I say, the deck to me was made to be the Cross Heart Silver Bullet. It auto loses to Blue Flare in my experience as well, unless you play it perfectly or they play poorly. So now that Cross Hearts is being completely left to the wayside, Dark Knightmon has also fallen off the face of the earth. And unfortunately, in my opinion, as a man who has just bought 3 Dark Knightmon X Antibody Alt Arts, the deck has no way to possibly come back either, because it doesn't seem to be getting any good support tools for the next 2 or 3 sets either.
Yeah, which is a shame because the actual Digimon itself is cool as fuck.
Very cool.
And like, it's not played in the deck, but I do just love High Vision Monitamon. I think it's a fucking stupid Digimon, and it's super funny.
Very stupid, very funny. Like, see, before Chikurimon came out, I was running a version of the deck which had all of the Monitamons maxed out. So you just spammed Monitamons. They've got a really shit version of the on deletion Commandermon in there. which I think it searches top 2 on deletion for a mon I'm on in a deck that only has 12. So yeah, that just shows you how much Bandai loves Dark Nightmon that they printed a card as good as that.
Yeah.
But if we go up the post ban list in ascending order, we can see now something that people might not have expected. Cross Hearts has entered the rogue deck status in the post ban world. What do we say to that?
I don't think it's a rogue deck.
It is now. I have to say the classification here is purely on a statistical standpoint. It's not actually taken into account the power level of the deck. It's more taken into account how many tops it's had at events after the ban list has been in effect. So you have to take into account the fact that similar to we saw with Alphamon, there was a dark ghost looming over Alphamon and nobody wanted to play it except at top level events. Crossheart has also been ditched by many people who were riding the tier 1, tier 0.5 hype train.
Yeah, so I think that it's not being played. I don't think that the deck has lost. Obviously, now it's lost Sunrise Buster. That card was never intended for Crossheart. It was intended for a funny, funky Rise Greymon, Shine Greymon deck. But Crossheart players went, oh, this is mine now. Which caused it to get limited, obviously, and then Cross 4 being limited to 1. I still think the deck is strong. I know I was talking earlier on about how I've not rated it that much, but I still think it's a strong deck. I don't think competitive players are willing to take a risk on a deck that's been had not 1 but 2 cards banned in it to play it at a premier event. And if they do, they like the people that have played it have still seen a bit of success, which is why it's sitting in the rogue tier and it's not just dropped out of the standings completely. But because it loses a bunch of its power, people have went, no, there's better decks out there to play, basically.
Like you say, mate, I think that's a good summary of it, to be honest. One issue you're having is that, because this was the boogeyman of BT10, every man, there's so many different types of card game players out there, but a big one that I despise is, this is best deck, I'm going to play best deck. So now that they know it is not going to be best deck, every man in these dogs dropped it. Because, I mean, let's... Between the three of us, how many people do you know that played Crossheart because they liked the way the deck played, or because they loved Cross Wars or Shoutmon or something like that?
I don't think I can name one person, to be honest.
I can name one person.
Yeah, I can name maybe 1 or 2. So it's a bit different from most decks. Like, I think the wholesome reason to build a deck is I love the play style, I love the Digimon, or I love the colour of the anime the Digimon's from or something like that. If you're playing a deck purely based on its competitive viability, then I guess the word I would use would be a tryhard.
Yeah, it's called net decking. As far as I'm aware, basically
net decking is just when you nick a deck off the internet, right?
Yeah. But that's what people did pretty much. They went, oh, this deck's brilliant. Let me copy a list and let me play the list.
Yeah, I think you found as well a lot of people. I think this might actually account for why you see such a big variance on Crossfart players and the strength of the decks they build. Is because as well, if you're not net decking a very successful list, then it's actually quite easy to build a shit Crossheart deck.
Yeah.
If your ratios are bad, you're going to be bricking a lot. You're not going to get those powerful turns off. So if you're not net decking or playing it at the highest level, you might actually be running it down pretty hardcore.
The problem with net decking as well is that you will never win an event by net decking. You just straight up will not win a good event, because the people that win are the people that come up with the ideas and the people that come up with the engine, not the people that go, oh, I like that, let me copy that. Like, it's fair enough to take decks that Japan has been playing, because Japan are 2 formats ahead of us, basically. But pretty much whenever I build a deck, I look at Japanese lists and I go, okay, I'm changing this because I don't think this is going to play as well. And it's why when I play Digimon, I see consistent levels of at least decent success, because I can do that. And it's the same with both of yourselves as well. You're both very good card game players, because you look at lists and then change them about. You don't just steal a list and go, this is exactly what I'm playing with no changes, because you just don't see the success that you think you will do.
Yeah, the best way to describe it, in my opinion, the way that I do it anyway, is I'll look at them as a basis. I'll play with that list a couple of times, find out what I want to tweak to it, because I don't think a deck from Japan is going to be a solved deck for the English, because we play completely differently, and you've seen that with the way that the meta has been. I also, I do use you could call it net decking to a certain extent, but I then go ahead and then go, after like a day of playing it, I'll sit down and go, right, now let me look at this. Let's see what cards I didn't use. Let's see if there's any cards that are better. And 9 times out of 10, there's always better cards that you think that you could play. Which I think a lot of people need to get out the premise of, oh, if I just net deck, I'll win.
Yeah, like it's definitely got a good place in card games, especially for maybe if you're not much of a deck building guru. But to me, that's one of the most fun parts of the game.
I
is
love
building a
building
deck
decks.
that's unique to you.
Yeah,
being
Something
able to
that's
sit down with your
beats
mate
metas
and
that you
just
play.
like sit down with your mate and just sit there and just pure like fire ideas back in each other.
Yes,
It's one of the greatest like things about card games, in my opinion.
And it's just people doing themselves a disservice, really, because they're losing out on that fun aspect. And like you say, Adam, if you're not, a lot of these, if you see like there's certain lists you see online that just get spammed, right? Like a good example was when Mother D Reaper was quite popular. There was literally one top-end deck that played Mother D Reaper in America, and everyone was playing the exact same list because it was considered to be solved. But see, when you get some of these spicier decks that not everybody's playing, there's certain includes that people might not understand, and it's a really interesting conversation, to be fair, to ask if it's what is and isn't valid in net decking. Because you could totally just take the deck and use it exactly the same. There's also certain people that look at a topping list and they go, what the hell? Why is he playing that? I'm taking out 8 cards and putting in 8 new cards. I'm like, well, at that point, mate, you've basically built a new deck. So everybody builds decks because the cards all have synergy with one another. So if you tweak too much, you end up just completely ruining the deck, and you may as well start from the ground up again.
I think to note as well is that, oh, sorry, on you go, Jason.
I was going to say, I don't think personally there is a solved deck out there for Digimon.
Not anymore.
Which is what I love. Like, you go and you look at any other card game, every deck will eventually become solved, and then that's the only list you'll be seeing people play, like every single, and whenever it tops, it's the exact same list and everything. But for Digimon, it's just totally different, because everybody when you're building a deck and you put in your wee spicy text, you know why you're putting the spicy text in, and you know how to play them. People then who come in like from the outside and look in, that can't like actually ask you questions about it, will then look at these spicy texts and go, oh, this must be for this must be for this. It just make something up in their head, and then that's what. And then if the deck doesn't work, they're like, oh, the deck's trash, blah blah blah, and then they never touch the deck again.
Exactly, man. So it's
you need to know why you play the cards, not just play the cards.
This is what you need to do. Like, it does fit in exactly what you're saying there, Adam, and what you were saying earlier on, Jason. Net decking's a great place to start. If you don't know the archetype well, why don't you just net deck it? See how you like it, see how you play, see what's different, see what you don't like, and change it till it's a wee bit more specific to yourself. So if we look at the rest of the standings here on the list, we've just said they're bottom in Rogue deck status, Crosshearts. Now take everything here with a wee bit of pinch of salt, guys, because there wasn't actually a ridiculous amount of post-ban list tournaments. So maybe it was a really, really crazy format, because I don't know about you guys, did it feel like it disappeared like that?
Well, the reason for that is that we had the set for a month before EX3 came out. Like maybe slightly over a month because of the EX3 delays in the UK, but that was honestly one of the quickest formats we've ever had. And I've got to be honest, I am not a fan of it. I am not a fan of a month-long format. Now, don't get me wrong, we have played in formats that have been 3 months long. I think that is a bit too long for no new cards to be introduced or anything like that. But a month, and in some places 3 weeks, not a fan of that. I'm really not a fan of that, Bandai.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan personally. it's kind of put a kind of wee sour taste in my mouth because I'm like, I want to have time to build a deck, and then I want to try and figure out where it goes wrong and quote unquote solve it in my head kind of thing. Whereas this format, I was not able to do that because I like the idea of every single deck. I mean, I spent over a week and a half trying to figure out Agra army.
Oh dear.
Bro, like I was going mental about it, and then I looked and I was like, oh, when's like the next set coming out? I was like, oh, there's just really no point in this, man.
Nope.
And then I was like, it's just, I don't know, man.
Like,
I didn't particularly like
normally
it.
I
The
like to
timing was
play,
nuts.
normally I like to play a deck for a couple of weeks to see if I like it or not, but it's really hard to do that when the fucking set just completely changes, a new set completely changes the meta.
Yeah.
This is the thing, man. Like the timing was so strange. Like they could have literally not bought the ban list in till EX3 was coming out, and gave us a couple more weeks of the format. Or, see, to be honest, considering that BT11 doesn't come out till bloody February, they could have shifted EX3
To
back
December,
to like a
early
release
December
date.
for Christmas. Yeah. I thought that's
They
what
could have
their
kept the ban
original
list.
plan was, because EX2 came out in May, but EX1 came out Christmas Day or something like that, just before Christmas. Last year, it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus, it's so hard to think. We've had so many formats since then, but like,
Time flies.
but like, it just it doesn't feel good. And right, yeah, we've got the World Championships coming up in January, February, things like that, which I'm super looking forward to. The ban list was going to be implemented before then anyway. They could have given us a little bit more time. And I know we spoke about it last time, but I still feel really, really iffy about bringing out a set, watching players max it out, and then banning cards in a specific deck. And we're talking about Crossheart here, but like, there's pretty much half of the alts in EX10, BT10 was for Shoutmon and stuff like that. So like,
well, let's talk
weird.
about it a wee bit. Let's go into a wee bit of a dive on our feelings on the ban lists that Bandai's put out, more specifically talking about the most recent one they've done. Like you're saying, Adam, it's a bit dubious to say that they're putting out this set that's so focused on one deck. I mean, there's multiple decks, obviously, but it is mainly Crossheart related. So much hype around this deck, and then I don't want to say the deck's dead because I don't believe it is. I think it's just underhyped at the minute. And then after people have bought the set, bought their alts, got really hyped to play it, they've completely changed the deck.
Yeah. I guess the way that I look at it is the thing what they banned obviously didn't have an alt, it had a pre-release, right? So in a sense, fair play. If people after maxing the deck out then want to get rid of it because of the ban and they don't want to go out their way and then try and figure out this deck, etc., then they weren't playing it for the right reasons. They were playing to win tournaments.
Yeah.
That's the way that I seen it. I could be completely wrong. Some people could just be like, "Oh, you've just nerfed my favorite deck." That I don't want to play this deck because it's not the way that I wanted to play it. Fair play to those people, right? But I know a lot of people who picked up the deck that actually personally see more people complain about the hit for cross 4 were people that hadn't maxed out the deck. See, the people that did max out the deck, they didn't care. They were like, "Oh, I'll just put this in then."
Yeah.
It's a very good point, to be honest, mate. Like we spoke about this earlier on. There's not many like Shoutmon Crossheart stands out there. It is mainly people who are wanting to play what they think is going to be the best deck. And the other thing is, I mean, you could be like a rarity hole, right, and just be like, "Oh, I need to max all my cards." But for me, at least, I don't want to max a deck unless I actually love it or I think it's going to be around for ages. You could make the argument, okay, Crosshearts would have been around for ages and it still will be to a degree. But I think it's probably a bit of a daft decision to go, I need to max this. And then when you max it, and then because the deck is, if a deck's positioned to be the best deck for a long time, then you should anticipate some sort of ban list affecting it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd agree that you should anticipate a ban list, but it would be nice to see what our meta spits out as opposed to basing it on another one. So I was going to make a point that now I don't know any Japanese players that play in the Japan format. I know Japanese players that play in the English format because obviously they live over here, etc. But like a lot of people were leaving the Japanese scene because Crossheart was dominating. Now
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but a deck is not enough to make me leave the game. However, what is enough to make me leave the game is when a set gets printed and a third of it has fucking erratas.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
That
true.
is what makes me
Um,
want to leave a game, not one specific deck. Although Security Control was pushing it, was pushing it for a while.
yeah,
I think for me, if I was in their shoes, I probably would have taken a break from the game because the joys of a card game is playing different decks and playing against different decks. See if I kept going to a tournament and every single player was just playing cross four, and in Japan they're hyper competitive, they're in it to win it. So most of the time, from what I've seen, so I think a lot of players were going into it and you want playing the kind of their decks and then just getting absolutely creamed by cross four for them. Do you know what I mean? Which can be extremely infuriating when you're going up against the deck and you just physically can't do anything.
Yeah,
And it's a simple matchup. You're playing against the exact same deck. It's very boring.
yeah.
yep.
And Japan has 10 times the amount of events that we do because they've got such a
Exactly.
high they've got such a high player base because Digimon alongside Pokemon have been neck and neck for such a long time. Yeah, when Cross Wars came out, it wasn't too popular with the Western audience, but like, and again, I don't know too much, so I'm not gonna like start diving into stereotypes or anything like that.
Yeah,
But like, they love their anime and stuff over there. Like, there's a whole part of Japanese culture that is based on that sort of thing. So when
Absolutely.
they have tournaments, we get a consistent 400 to 500 people at regionals because we get them once or twice a year. They have regionals maybe once a month, and they get thousands of players.
Yeah,
It's crazy, and like obviously Bandai's gonna base their decisions on formats on the Japanese market because they had it for a much longer time than we did.
yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, come on, Bandai, give us a shot at least.
Yeah, I think what we got was a shot, to be honest, but I just think it's my main issue with it is the speed at which the metas have changed. So we've basically had two completely different metas here within the period of a month, and now we're moving into one that's completely different. There's been at least 5 new competitive decks that have came out at EX3 that are going to be at least tier 1 through 3.
Yep.
So it's a bit crazy the speed at which it's moving. Also considering what we were talking about earlier on, where we've got Worlds in January. So maybe they're thinking we want to give them a long time to solve the format so that we can have the best of the best battle out at the end of the month. But I'm just thinking from a standpoint of if I'm grinding it out here, playing in locals twice a week or whatever, then you're just going to get bored at your face, aren't you? By
Yeah.
the time the end of the format comes around, and they could have spread it better. But I'll be honest in saying I'm really happy with the hits on the ban list. I agree with all of them. To be quite honest with you, the only one I think's a little weird is Calling from Darkness. Like I say, Calling from Darkness or Purple in general, it's been a bit weak for a while, but I think the three of us can agree more than likely that Calling from Darkness is a ridiculous card, especially in Purple.
I don't know. Like I said, most decks most purple decks are Minerva Loop and Lilith Loop and stuff like that are purely purple. They only play it at one anyway because Lilith gets their options back. So if anything, I think they needed to do their first not their first full ban because we have Mega Digimon Fusion banned, but I think they either needed to do it their first full ban or just leave it alone because I don't think Calling from Darkness was the problem of the purple decks.
The timing on it's a bit weird. I would say that, right? If you want to go ahead and ban every or nerf or limit every single ridiculous card in Digimon, you'd be here all day. But you need to be thinking about, is it oppressive in a current deck or is it going to be oppressive in the near future? And the answer to that question is no.
Well,
because
it was
till the end of this meta, at least, we're not going to have a purple deck it's that oppressive because of Calling from Darkness.
Yeah. Like when BT11 comes out and we get Mervamon and a bit more purple support, it might pick back up again then. But you limit Calling from Darkness, and all purple players are going to do is play Revive from Darkness instead, and then they'll play their 5 cost, delete their guy, spit out level 5, which is always a Cerberusmon, gain 9 memory, waste time for 10 minutes, and then still lose the game. Sorry,
you're totally belittling.
Do you know why?
Here.
I am gonna give a shout out to the Ginger Chris on Twitch and everything else. He's one of our local players. Chris is also a very good friend of ours. He has bullied me with Lilith Loop so many times and Minerva Loop that I just hate the deck on sight. So well done, Chris. Shout out to you, buddy.
Poor lad.
Aye, well done, Chris. You've literally turned him into the Joker.
This is that is my origin story. As soon as they start printing more Lilith Loop shenanigans, I'm going somewhere, mate.
The game is being dropped.
Oh, I'm moving over to Vice Schwartz.
Oh, last thing I want to say is so about the ban list at least. So I have heard some absolutely crazy bloody opinions from this. I've heard people saying that Bandai should be giving out refunds to players because they have bought sealed product that is now apparently not worth what they bought it for.
Man,
I've heard this a surprising amount of times. People basically making the argument, I bought my box specifically for Crossheart stuff, and now I can't play Crossheart because it's not tier 1, which I think is a bit ridiculous, to be honest.
I know.
Point, they should grow up here in the nicest way possible. Like, and this is just me. I'll be 100% honest, and I'm going to just be truthful here. The deck was worth 20 quid.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally, you're buying 4 SRs.
Like, if you're buying a box, you're not going to be able to build the full deck from a box.
Like, I bought 4 cross 5s a couple of days before the ban list. I was like, oh, I'll play this deck, and they banned it, and I went, oh well. On to something else then.
5s are now worth only 60% of what I bought them for. No, it's also a weird thing to say because the Bandai do not actually give values directly to cards. It's what the community decides they're worth.
Yeah.
So if you're out here like that, I'm trying to you don't buy a box of BT10 trying to make money. If you do, you're absolutely insane.
You don't buy a box of anything other than BT9 trying to make money.
Bro, you don't buy Digimon in order to make money. Digimon is one of the cheapest card games in the market. If you're wanting to make money by doing that, is you go to Yu-Gi-Oh, you go to Pokemon. These places
exactly.
Have a collector's market. Digimon doesn't have that yet, thankfully.
Aye.
But like the only card that's got value to it is Death Exmon because it's a staple in nearly every single deck.
And like Death Exmon is the only card that we've seen hit the £100 mark since set 1 Omnimon. And that's because set 1 Omnimon, when it was only set 1 out, was literally the only deck you ever played. It was red Omnimon or it was blue Omnimon, but you always got into Omnimon, and then that was the end of the game because all you had was fucking vanillas that go all the way up the stack. Yellow was good because that was set technically 2 when Shine Greymon and stuff came out, and then that dominated the format because DP reduction without a counter has always been broken in the right hands. But like Omnimon and BT1 Omnimon, it quickly went, this card's shit now, and it's 15 quid at most now, apart from like the special collector's editions. But Death X is such a good card. I think Death X should be limited to 1 because it is genuinely toxic for the meta at the moment, I think. Everyone plays it.
Hydramon player spotted.
No. Like it was even the point where I was like, should I put a Death Exmon in Hydramon? I was like, maybe I should, but no, because like it is in every single deck. I genuinely think it should be limited to 1, but Bandai will not do that because Death Exmon makes them money.
Yes.
Right. So see, for me, I'm on the fence on both sides. I see both parties. I always end up leaning to it's actually, I think it's very fair for the game right now.
I agree.
It might get to a stage later on, however, that it does something needs to be done to it, because if it consistently stays a staple, in like a couple of sets down the line, then yeah, maybe Bandai at that point need to look at it and go, right, we need to try and get this so we can, because Bandai have came out many times before saying we want to make deck building the prime like focus of the game and make it so you have different kind of like deck builds that you can do, right? That was one of the reasons why like Cross 4 was essentially hit, was because it opened up being able to actually build a, Shoutmon and all that stuff like into a deck that didn't revolve around one rare. But right now, I'm not sure.
No, I don't think it should be banned or limited just now, but I think if the meta continues to show it as a splashable card in literally every deck, I think something should be done about that.
Yeah. I'll quickly give you my take, right? Because literally, I feel like, and I might actually do this on my channel, but I feel like I could talk about this for 20, 30 minutes. Because there's so many varying opinions from DefX1 all the way from, this is cancer for the game, this is the most broken card of all time, to card shite, absolute copium. Basically, that my opinion is you cannot afford to run it in every deck, because in certain matchups it's a legit brick where it does nothing. It hard counters certain decks, and it checks things like how broken were tamers and hybrid decks before this released, and it obviously counters your go wide setups as well.
It was that was, I'm pretty sure the main reason it was made was for the hype, because they made hype strong. I disagree to an extent about being splashable in every deck, because every deck does splash it. It's like, it's not mandatory to play it, but majority of the decks at top are at least playing one of it.
I don't know, man. Like, see if you look at decks like, so let's just look at the meta decks we've got here. Melga never plays it. Grandis never plays it. Blue Flare, I don't know. Maybe you sometimes see it as a one-off. Alphamon never plays it.
Alphamon definitely plays it.
No, they don't, man. You guys are smoking.
They play at least one of it.
You guys are smoking. I will pay a 1,000 digi box bounty to the person who can show me a deck that went top 16 with a DefX Alphamon list.
Alphamon will never get that. What do you mean?
Maybe my problem is not with DefX, because I do actually think it is a balanced card that, with the threat of it, definitely stops people from just going, spam the board. But I think my problem is with the players that rely on it like a crutch to win their games. That just go, oh, I'm building Schmeckelmon, a card that does absolutely nothing to do with DefXmon. But I have to put a DefXmon in there because I cannot possibly think of another counter in my brain of brains with DigimonCard.dev open to me. I have to put DefXmon in this deck because I have to. That's what annoys me. People not thinking hard enough to make their own counters that are infinitely better.
It definitely depends, man. Like, as a meta-dependent card, the biggest issue for people is when it's strong, it is ridiculously strong, and when you play it in certain matchups, it's literally a dead card, unless people play it wrong. But it's also one of these cards that ends up being a bit of a skill check. And it's a deck building check as well these days, because if you're in a meta where DefX1's rampant and played quite a lot, like we've just came out of, maybe you want to think twice about putting something in that is like a tamer that doesn't give you that much value, or you're playing a control deck with lots of tamers. Like I think Maki's a good example. People run Maki because it helps them reduce the cost of their dual colours, but it's literally sitting as a DefX reduction for the rest of the game there, and you have to ask yourself, is that worth it?
Yeah, and just learn to play around it, basically. Like, I'm playing Bloom Hydra at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it. The way I get around DefX is just evolve into my level 5s and 6s a little bit quicker than instead of flooding the board, because, oh no, you de-digivolve my Lord Knight, oh god, I can't get that deck out of my head. You de-digivolve my Bloom Lord to a level 5, oh no, I've just evolved straight back into one again. Like, it doesn't do anything to me. Yeah, if I flood the board with level 4s like an idiot, but I know how to play around it, so it's fine. But then I and I'm not naming names, but I know people that literally just go, he's a good player, I'm going to put Death X in this deck because it counters his deck, and I'm just going, it doesn't know because I can play around it.
Those people are trolling their balls off, to be honest. But
Yeah.
aye, if
All
we're
the deck,
going, oh sorry, Jason, you wrap us up here, mate.
I was literally just gonna say all the deck, all the card does is just strike fear in everyone's eyes, man.
Yes.
If
Yeah,
you're not playing around a Def Exmon, you're going to lose the game.
exactly.
that's
Sometimes I do that, man. Like I literally go, well, if he doesn't have Def X, I win. But if he does, I lose. Well, let's roll the dice, baby. Let's see what happens. And then he plays it, and I cry.
It's part
But
of it.
aye, it's a really interesting card, and like we say, we could talk about this for bloody ages,
Yeah.
ages. So if we look at the rest of the standings after the ban list here, we'll quickly go through it because we are pushing on for time and we don't want to be one of these 3-hour podcast guys. So if we go into the tier 3 list, again, this is based on percentage results and top 16s. So we're starting at 2%. This is tier 3, 2% to 5% of top results. We've got Magnamon X, a deck that I think was very slept on, has kind of came out of nowhere. Then Mastermon, Security Control, Jessmon, which is a deck people were absolutely riding the hype train on and hasn't seemed to have done very much.
Nope.
Deck's fire, bro. Don't know what you're talking about.
It's very good, man, but it's nowhere near.
It's one of those hit or miss. It's one of those hit or miss decks. Like I played it. I played it when it first came out and was beaten into a pulp that I nearly considered quitting the game. I was that raging at it. And like I don't think Jessmon is as good because the thing that gets in the way of Jessmon being good are the sistermons that it has to play. And like you either play enough and that you clog your deck up, or you play a little too little and you don't see them when you need them, etc., etc.
Now, maybe I'm just a god, right?
Maybe.
But
God gamer, perhaps.
I actually think Jessmon is a lot better than what people are making it out to be. Like, I think the decks definitely should be higher than tier is it 3 was, did you say?
3, mate. So it's about it's in the middle of tier 3. But again, man, I get nah. So this is again, this isn't like a power ranking or like someone's opinion on it. This is just simply based on statistical numbers of the tops the deck has had.
Yeah, personally, I just think it's not represented enough. But the deck, if I was to go into a tournament, I would pick Jessmon over Blue, and that just tells you a lot. Like I genuinely think Jessmon is super strong if played correctly.
It's nuts. I think the skill check on Jessmon is remembering what all the bloody sistermons do, to be honest with you. Because anytime somebody plays one, they're like, I play Sistermon Cyan. I'm like, oh, what the hell does Cyan do? Is that the one that does this effect? They're like, no, bro, that's the one that was from BT6. This is the new one that actually lets me warp Digivolve for 0 and draw 5 cards, and all my guys have got decoy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, okay, no problem, mate, you crack on. So it's literally just hard to remember what they all do. It's a crazy deck. It feels very overtuned.
Jessmon players' worst enemies are themselves. Genuinely, they forget what their effects do half the time, or at least some of the players that I've played, not all of them, but like they're playing so many things that it's so hard to keep track of all of them. They either miss their effects or like just do the timing wrong.
Yeah.
So I think it deserves its tier 3 spot. Rest in peace, Ragnar Lordmon. You were never destined for greatness as a starter deck, but you are fun.
So true.
Love him.
Sound. So going through the rest of the results here, we're going into the top half of tier 3. Wargreymon X, which topped, as we said earlier on, in EX3 recently, came out of nowhere. Didn't actually know people were trying it in BT10 though, so that's pretty interesting. Considering it's done feck all since its release, it's finally getting a spotlight.
Yeah.
We've got bloody Imperial Dramon that's actually been sticking around. I think this is probably the cockroach of Digimon will never be destroyed. And with the new things coming out in BT12, it looks like it's going to be sticking around longer than we ever thought.
Yeah.
Later on, we've got Alphamon. Obviously, this is taking into account the ban list, so it's probably not seen so much representation afterwards. It's been really difficult to see more people playing it. And then at the top of tier 3, we've actually got Yellow Hybrid making a gallant return into the meta, thanks to the likes of Venusmon.
Yeah.
which is a pretty ridiculous card that I still don't understand.
Yeah.
It's very strong.
I've not played against it yet, or at least I've not played against a yellow hybrid player that's gotten one out, so I can't comment on it, but I have no doubt that it's annoying.
I have, and it's so fucking annoying, bro. Like you have to see if your deck does not have a way to out it. You'd be as well just scooping up and leaving
Do be jokes.
because you can't get around it. The only way you can, most decks now have to have a kind of. That's why you're seeing a lot of the bombs. That's why you probably see with War Greymon winning with the Gaia forces and stuff.
Yeah.
It just gets rid of the problem cards, and that's what's needed with this meta.
It's also
yeah,
for Death X-Mon, I think, because like I had this recent issue with the new D Brigade list I was making. It's like, well, I really like Ultimate Flare. When Ultimate Flare's better than Iron Fist, it's much better than Iron Fist. But then there's so many situations where literally just you need something that can blow up a big guy, and Ultimate Flare doesn't do that. So you need to run your Fist or your Gaia Forces or your Chaos Degrades, whatever. So it's a really annoying card, and that combined with Death X means that's probably why we're seeing a lot more of your bombs, like you said, Jason.
Yeah, agreed. Going into it, what kind of decks do you think that are slept on going into from EX3 and stuff?
For me, man, this is one that I've been telling people about, and people have been very surprised.
You're about to say Pulsemon, right?
No. So Pulsemon was slept on as hell, but I've kind of unfortunately abandoned the deck simply because D Brigade is back, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
And the deck I would bring to the talking point, and let us know in the comments down below, guys, what you think your most slept on deck of EX3 is going to be. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys, as well, okay? Because we're a small channel and we need your support. But for me, it's actually going to be Gallantmon. Now, people have. I'm one of these guys who watches the Japanese meta. I'm not going through it with a fine-tooth comb, right? But I do look at meta results. And you've been seeing Gallantmon decks poking their head in every so often. And it's basically because it's meta-dependently strong. We're going into a meta now where people are beginning to play wee guys on the board. They're beginning to swarm the board again. So finally, this deck has got some ridiculous targets for its deletion effects. Yeah. Things like the War Growlmon X antibody are just ridiculously powerful. Being able to pop such a big board and gain memory off it, sometimes gaining 3 memory for deleting the board. For 0 memory with the War Growl is absolutely nuts. The deck's got some good new support pieces like the new War Growlmon that lets you play a Takato out for free. Really helps turbo the deck, and also it's got some pretty nutty OTK potential with the Crimson mode and the X antibody card. People are running a couple of the X antibody option card so that they can swing, go into the X antibody, and then evolve into the Crimson mode in the same turn, because by deleting things you're gaining back memory so you can keep the turn. I actually had something like 2 or 3 security trashed in one turn against a Gallantmon, and then they proceeded to swing for lethal and I cried my eyes out. So if you guys like Galeamon, consider checking the deck out again, because it's worth revisiting. There's actually somebody who got top 8 in an American tournament recently, one of the first EX3 tournaments, and it's finally at a point again where I'm confident to say, if you like Galeamon, if you like the deck's playstyle, and you like the colour red, it's worth looking into again.
What about you, Adam? What deck do you think slept on?
I don't know. Like, I really want the new Imperial Dramon to be good. Now, I have not played the old Imperial, the blue-green Imperial, to a massive extent, just because it's not... I've never been a big fan of blue decks. They don't really appeal to sort of my play style. But I really like red-purple Imperial Dramon, and I think it's got such good potential, but I just don't think it's going to be played, because I think every single person has went, yeah, Old Imperial's still better, and I fully think Old Imperial is still a better deck, but being able to go from 2 level 3s up into a level 6 on the same turn without passing over too much memory, I think is crazy, crazy good. And I really hope it gets more support in the future. I hope it's not just a one and done sort of deck. I'd really like to see a little bit more support in it, and I think it could be a genuinely competitively viable red-purple deck.
Yeah. It's another one of these decks in it where sometimes it feels a bit jank, but if it gets its combo off, you're sitting there going, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, pretty much. Now, it's not going to... I think it's feasible if you can get a scatter mode out quickly and ditch a bunch of your pieces, because obviously it DNAs from trash pretty much with all of its effects. If you can get a scatter mode out and bin your pieces quickly, I think you're getting that level 6 out for practically nothing, which is crazy. But again, I think it's got a couple of issues here and there. But I want like once it sets off, it's great. Like I can't wait to actually play the deck. It's just really hard to get hold of the secret rare fighter modes. I've only got one, and I need at least 3 for the deck to function properly, I think.
Mate,
I
just
really
wait
want
till
to
it
play
does nothing in the meta and the card will be £15.
Yeah, 15 pence more like.
15p for a secret. Shake my hand.
Yeah. What about you?
No, I think this will go to no one's surprise. Hexablow Azulongmon.
Yes, sir. It's
Yeah.
back.
Baby is back, and I cannot. I love it because, as Cobb was saying earlier on, like you've got things like D Brigade that's now started coming back and stuff, and just having a Hexablow on the board while your opponent has a bunch of things with no sources is fantastic, and it forces your opponent to get rid of the Hexablow while giving you sometimes stupid amounts of memory.
Yeah.
And just because, as I've said times before, just going into the fact that all the new EX3 stuff, would you call it, with the new kind of like Paildemon, Paildemon or whatever it's called, being able to like just as like Chimeramon get like a stack and then turn things. I think in one game I ended up turning someone whenever he digivolved. It was like an extra 5 memory he had to pay, which is nuts.
Mate, he evolves and passes turn to you on 9. Like what?
Like, and then on that turn when I swing with Hexablow, I just trash the sources again.
Yeah.
So it's just a super oppressive deck that I think's just being slept on.
Yeah, it's literally nobody's talking about it either, man. Like it's very well. I knew you would talk about it because you loved it back in the day. But between like you and my mate who I told about it, I have not even seen somebody reference Hexablow support. You know, people don't even seem to have realised that this is a new Hexablow line. So it's cool that it's something that they've snuck in that may be more powerful than people immediately thought.
Yeah, I used to hate it back in the day, apart from the fact everyone went, I love Eosmon decks, and Hexablow went, no. And then everyone stopped playing Eosmon, and then Hexablow died out. But I'm glad to see it back. I think it does have a place in the meta now that there's actual counters to it.
Yeah, so Sora is just an absolutely ridiculous card. We've got another bloody floodgate and another way to thrash pretty much every source you've got under Sunday. Sora plus a Sora and Joe is going to clear every single stack in the game pretty much.
100%.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Now I believe we want to go into a segment, a wee kind of like get talking about the comments that we got.
Yeah, so
we just grab a comment each, work our way down the list.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks very much to like everyone that listened to the first episode. Obviously, a bunch of our friends have listened to it, but like we've seen from the analytics, we're seeing people in the States, people in Australia, people in South Africa, across Europe. Like it's not big numbers, obviously, but I just want to say thank you to everyone that's listened, and hopefully you've come back, and like we really appreciate you. This is a small podcast, obviously, like there's not a lot of us, and we, at the moment, obviously, you've seen how podcasts can take off and get thousands of viewers. I don't think that's going to be the case because it's Digimon, so I'm hoping we can garner quite a dedicated community for it, but like, interact with us, guys. We'll be replying, we'll feature your comments, stuff like that. Like, let us know what you think. Talk to us. We're happy to interact with you. Don't just if you just want to listen and then move on with your day, that's totally fine. Thank you very much for listening. But if you want to like talk to us, bring it on. We're here to listen and talk to you back.
100%.
It's really cool. Like Adam says, because we are a smaller channel, it's very easy for us to see one sub and be like, "Let's go, we got one sub, baby."
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
you see one comment that's like a genuine message, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" Like,
So yeah, thanks very much to Specs for commenting. It meant a lot, especially his comment was exactly what we wanted to do, because there isn't a lot of podcasts for Digimon. And we wanted to kind of just get into that essential market. But he said, as a new player coming over from Magic the Gathering, welcome, brother. Content like this is great. I love listening to longer discussions and getting to hear more opinions. I'm surprised at how few Digimon TCG podcasts exist. Great first episode. Keep up the good work.
Yeah. So thanks, Specs.
That meant a lot to us.
Thank you.
Like just that, especially with the first episode, that was a lot. So thank you very much, my man.
Yep. We've got Jamie Gardner saying, "Good episode, guys. Keep up." Jamie, thank you very much for listening. Jamie is a local Scottish player, so it's really good to see people that we know is listening to it as well, and actually like giving us genuinely good feedback as well, and that we're not creating something that the people we play with hate. So that's super cool.
That's great. Yeah. Cheers, mate. So the next comment we've got is from Sheng Alan Zien, who says, "Great first episode, but I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes there's this static that happens for a few seconds, followed by a garbled mic." So unfortunately, Sheng, that was myself. I do a lot of traveling for my job, so I can't always take my recording equipment with me. And the last and unfortunately first episode of the podcast was recorded through my mobile phone.
Yay!
So I don't know what was happening there. We didn't actually, nobody could hear it on the Discord end. It was only in the recording side of things. So rest assured, I will be bringing my damn microphone with me everywhere we go, and we shouldn't have this issue anymore.
I'm decent at audio editing, but I unfortunately could not fix that. Hopefully it won't be an issue going forward. Now, you guys, let you in on a little sneaky. My connection's been shit for the past couple of minutes, and we've had to restart this discussion twice. Now, you won't hear this because I've edited it out, but I'm telling on myself right now that my fucking Wi-Fi is garbage.
Very, very small, independent podcast here. You get all the bloody warts and all.
Thank you for bearing with us while we figure technical issues out. Hopefully we get it to a stable place relatively quickly. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Going into another one was by Digital Hazard. Hello. Tartan Evie sent me. Great start, lads. Thank you very much. I don't know who Tartan Evie is. Does anyone?
I know Tartan Evie. Tartan Evie.
Big shout out to Tartan Evie. She's a local Scottish Pokemon Twitch streamer. She's live pretty much all the time with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet right now, so go check her out on Twitch. She's a very nice lass.
And shout out to Digital Hazard for the based name and profile picture, which includes the Digital Hazard logo featured on Guilmon with the original Digimon VPET logo right in the middle of that.
Best Digimon saying.
Best series, best series, 100%. One of the best boys.
It's terrible, but we won't touch on that. That's another episode. We can. This is the glory of the Digimon podcast, man. We can talk about all this.
We'll talk about this in more detail later, right? But Adam legit went to me the other day. What you like Tamers? Like nobody likes Tamers. Like that's not many people like that one, mate. Tamers is legitimately the most loved season of Digimon.
Quickly found out I was horrendously wrong. Now I still don't like Tamers that much. I was going into I don't know, my fucking angsty phase or whatever when that came out, and I was like, this isn't the original Digi-Destined, I don't like this. And then I started watching fucking something Shrek, no doubt, or something like that.
Edgy teenager out here watching bloody Shrek the Third, like, Tamers is so ass, bro. I love Merlin and Shrek the Third.
Shut up. I don't have a comeback. Just shut up. Maybe I'll give it. Maybe I'll give it another go so I can watch. I'm not gonna watch it, but like at least it's better than Cross Wars, probably.
Most definitely.
Oh, and finally on the comments front, we've got Average Man. Hello, Average Man. We are also average men.
Yes, so true.
Who says, I feel like memory tamers can be crucial with decks like Diaboromon, since all Digivolutions are a 2 to 3 cost, you get 2 per turn.
Yep.
But other methods of gaining memory aren't as viable, especially with Death Exmon. Hit it in security, fine, but if it plays to an effect, fine. Most of the time it feels unnecessary and all like a risk. So basically the whole, do I really need to play this tamer? Do I not need to play this tamer? Am I feeding Death Exmon sort of thing? So, like, yeah, I think we acknowledged that earlier on as well, that unless your tamer is absolutely like you have to play it or you will lose the game, maybe hold off and see if they run Death X or not. Spoiler alert.
Average Man.
Everyone runs Death X.
No, they don't, man. It's not every deck. It's legit probably less than 50% of decks in the meta run it.
Yeah, but when we see the same 16 people every locals, it's most of them.
When you see me, baby, oh, let's go.
I don't play against you in locals, to be fair. I'm never paired against you.
You don't, unless it's top table and it's for all the marbles.
Yeah.
But this comment's probably in reference to something I said in the last set, where I was saying how I don't like running cards like Izzy in D Brigade because you don't need the 3 memory, and like I say, it just feeds Death X, and also the tempo loss you get from playing certain tamers is very high, so losing that tempo and also feeding the Death X machine can be pretty disastrous. But you're totally right in that if your deck needs the 2-3 memory every turn, guaranteed, then it is more than fair to be running a memory tamer, I'd be saying.
Yep.
Well, that's great. Well, unless anybody else has any further comments, that has been the second episode of One Way 0%.
No, I'm quite happy with that. What about you guys? How are you feeling about it?
I'm more than happy, mate. More than happy.
Yeah.
Again, we could talk for Scotland between the 3 of us. Probably one of us could talk for Scotland each. But we'll wrap it up there, guys, and we'll keep you wanting more. Hopefully, you come back for episode 3 in a couple of weeks' time.
So give us a wee subscribe on Scott's TCG. Go check out Cob's channel as well. What's it at? Is it at Cob Cards on YouTube?
If you search up Cob Digimon TCG on YouTube, you're bound to find me.
Sounds good. And for this podcast, guys, we're on every single podcast app there is now. We're on Apple, Google, Amazon, and some of the smaller ones as well. So go check us out on there. And who knows, in the future we might get around to like recording like video podcasts as well. But for now, we're pretty happy with what we're doing. But yeah, I'm super happy with it.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Again, let us know on the question. What was the question? It was what's the most slept on deck on EX?
Forgotten it already.
I know. For
and
you,
the recovery.
I'm going to comment Hexablow because they understand. Deck profile coming soon. Just kidding.
No, do it, Jason. The people would love to see it.
Oh, they probably would. I don't want. I'm not showing it until I win.
No, that's what I'm like as well, mate. I do not want to put up a deck list unless I am confident that it is Pog to the champ.
Meanwhile, I'm just throwing out lists that I've not even tested yet. Well, just leave me alone.
Shout out to Examon list with 4 rookies. We'll leave it on that.
It was 8 rookies. Leave me be.
8 rookies, yeah. 8 rookies and Examon Pog.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we have been One Way 0%. Thank you very much for giving us your very valuable listening time, and we hope to see you in the future. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.